Da 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 da! What's my good chair? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. Let people know I've gone live. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, I am Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and I am coming down from a really nice set of days off where I got a little bit of footing in, I don't know, maybe it's in that preparedness because winter's coming, right? We got snow on the ground, and you guys, it's going to stay. Oh my goodness, November 1st, we've already got snow on the ground that's going to stay. So we're in it probably until the end of March is when the snow usually lets out. Stays cold for about another month or 6 weeks. But I love winter. I really, really do love winter. I love when it's all frozen up and we get those nice snowstorms and everything is so bright. You know, you can go for a walk in the middle of the night, but the reflection of the snow on everything makes everything so clean and white and fresh. I love my evening walks in the wintertime. And I'd have to say I love my evening walks more in the winter than I do in the summer. Oddly. And I'm just taking note of that now. But maybe it's in that filling up that space, right? October, November. Well, December is usually pretty good because Christmas is rolling in. But soon as Christmas is over, you're back in it for a couple of months before you're starting to smell the spring in the air. And it's a difficult time for me. They call it seasonal flu. Seasonal flu, something like that. When you get the blues, when you become bummed out, you become procrastinating and slow, and you don't get things done. Well, that's only in our choices. I choose to look at that season, even though I'm feeling those ways 100%. There are other things that I'm feeling at the same time, and that sense of accomplishment, that excitement for what's next. And at the same time, that little bit of getting things done, right? Those in the summertime, we spend so much time out there. We're spending so much time entertaining ourselves, right? Bathing, laying in the sunshine, laying in the sun, laying on the beach, drinking pina coladas, right? And in the wintertime is a time that I think because we're frozen in. We're right, especially if you're a Canadian in Winnipeg, Manitoba, right? You get locked in a little bit. And I think it's the best opportunity to get things done. I mean, you're shut down anyway. What are you going to fill your time up? You're going to fill your time up with video games. I've never been a video game kind of girl, but lots of people like video games. In the old days, and especially with the Hutterites and the Mennonites here in Manitoba, they spend that time teaching the kids skills that will serve them well when they're adults and have children of their own, like, the cooking and the sewing, right? And then in the spring, there's the gardening, taking care of the fields, and the boys working in the barns in the winter, taking care of the animals, right? Taking care of the women, making sure everybody gets through winter safe and sound and healthy. We live in crazy town, meaning, right, the world is a crazy place. And because we live in that digital age, right? Everything feels like crazy town, but it's only because everything feels so close, like we're so compulsed, right? And that idea of what do we spend our time in doing? And lots of us are just spending our time watching what's happening next in the world, right? Like you could actually stop it. Lots of times we drive ourselves batty in that wondering, right? I have a curious mind. I get it. And without some of those lessons that I've indulged in the past few years, right? A lot of this movement I'm making right now wouldn't have even been a thought. Oh my goodness. And if it was a thought, it was a terrible thought. It was a terror thought, right? But you just get in it, and, you know, it just naturally happens that through that repetitiveness, we just get better and better and better at our craft until we get to the point where we're just perfectly suited for what we're doing, right? But again, it's in our choices, right? And to each of us in that time when we're locked down, we get to choose what to do with that time. And we're going to sit on the couch and watch the fireplace and watch movies and or play video games, or right, or we're going to go for walks, or we're going to go skiing, right, we're going to do Christmas party and seasonal parties, are we going to do other winter sports? Like there's so many different things that through our interests and those dreams and goals that we have, we could find things that we like to do within our own community to be able to keep ourselves busy in those times that on the norm might drag you down a little bit. November. For me, November is the absolute, oh, I think out of, well, I know all of them, but I think it's because it's setting in. The feeling is settling in. The buckling down is settling in. The winter closet has been switched with the summer, or the summer closet has been switched with the winter closet, right? All the winter coats. Oh my goodness, I was just going like a banshee on these set of days off in preparedness, right? But is that progress? Is that progress? I don't know, because in every year things are different. There are different inventions, right? I come across different products. I might find myself in a different job, a different situation, right? That all the differences and all those choices that I make is what's going to determine, and right? And well, unless you're pretty good at keeping track, right? It's pretty hard to pinpoint where you're going to be in one moment and compared to where you are now. And so yesterday we talked a little bit about, sometimes we have to look to the past a little bit, go back a little bit and see where we were at, say, a year ago, and then take a look at where we are now, and then to have a better perspective of, well, progress, right? Because I could see it in looking back. I can see it in an expanse of time, but from day to day to day, right? I could struggle with it today and then be perfectly fine with it tomorrow, right? It's always that two steps forward, three steps back, and then till finally, right? It's two steps forward and it just stays two steps forward. And that's where the progress is. So it kind of ties into yesterday's conversation when we were talking about allowing ourselves to fail, allowing ourselves to right, fall flat on our face because you're trying, right? And in that repetitiveness of failing, well, failing doesn't feel good, does it? And so the next time you try, right? And there better be a next time, right? So the next time you try, you're going to try a little bit harder for it not to be very painful, right? And maybe it's still painful, right? But you picked up a few tips from the last time you did it, and right, you kind of have a couple of ideas that you think might work the next time you try it. And bang, the next thing you know, you've got something down packed, and you can just show up and spew. You could just show up and spew your thing and not be so self conscious. And even when you're self conscious, there's always a way. I was very good. My whole life I was brought up not to ask for things. You won't hear me ask for things. Not very often. I'll have to be in some very, very, very deep doo doo, right? And like my laptop going, and then I'll take some time and who do I know that can help me, right? Who would do a kindness for me, and then do that ask. It's not very often. It's not very often that I ask. It's just not in my programming. But what I can do is I can dance around the subject, right? I can tell a story without telling the story. I can give you an idea and a perspective and vocalize it in a way where one person would take it one way, but the target audience, right, might pick up on it and, right, as a little nugget for themselves and possibly, right, make something of it. And sometimes that nugget is something I don't understand and I'm just throwing it out there because I know it's a nugget. And even though I don't get it, maybe somebody will get it. So I throw it out there anyway. And then again, right, that idea of being able to do that, being able to feel comfortable doing that. But I have to keep reminding myself, this is my channel, this is my brand, this is my gift back, this is my belief in some of those lessons that I know, right? That I know will help me improve, right? My life, right? And those parts of me that are also making movement in that. And even though some parts of me would like things to go a little bit faster, I think those parts of me are seeing the evidence of how comfortable. And not like it's all it's all couch and remote control and la di da di da, right? No, it's not that. But it's less uncomfortable, right? It's less excitable, it's less confusing, and there's less I was gonna say panic, but what's a word for panic? Frazzle. Less frazzle about things. And it makes it so I can resolve issues a little bit easier, right? And not necessarily, right? Because it took me a long time to get that computer up and running, and cross my fingers, I'll get that video rendered properly, right? But it is in failing, and that is the truth. And sometimes we don't want to look at the past because it's just been one failure after another failure. Who wants to just revel in constant failure? But if you go back in what you're doing in this moment to that very first failure you had in that process, right, when you were making this movement, right, that you're still making no matter what, you've had a gazillion failures in this process. But that very first failure, or one of the first ones, right? Because right? nobody's ever asked you to remember the first, and you just really don't want to remember the first. But sometimes that first is so big and it's so impactful and it's so painful, you can't forget, right? So go back to that first that first disaster in what you were trying to get out, right? And look at yourself now and look at what you're doing right now. Would you have ever made that mistake before? And looking at that mistake, that catastrophe that just tripped you right out, does it really seem that big? Or does it seem kind of silly, right? Or are you saying, oh my goodness, I could do that in my sleep now, right? But it was because you allowed yourself to fail. Or maybe you didn't allow yourself to fail. You just failed, and you just beat yourself up verbally all the way through it. But, right, maybe you can stop that for a little while, right? And just recognize the progress that you've made from then to now. We all want things yesterday. Oh my goodness. My sister Carolyn, go over. I'd be so excited. I've been on YouTube since 2000 and regularly since 2014, right? Started I I I I got my YouTube channel in 2013, but I didn't start posting regularly till 2014. And if you haven't seen any of my content, I'm a bit of explorer, right? I explore the inside and the outside. If you'd like to go and check out some of my content, I explore abandoned farms, abandoned churches, abandoned one room schoolhouses, old log cabins that were some of the very first settlers of Manitoba. I walk through farm fields, wheat, right? Walk through the forests and the bush. And I do it all by myself, right? And that's unique just in itself because I my sisters think I'm an absolute kook for going off on these vacations every year, right? By myself. And people ask me all the time, "Oh, can I come?" And I go, "No, that's for me. That's my vacation. You guys get me all year long, right? No, right? I'll 100% I'm there all year long. But when it comes to my vacation, that's mine. Yes, right? I'm sharing the videos, right? I'm letting the reward in that understanding and in that goal setting that I do and those choices that I make and in understanding I get what I give, but if you don't have a lot to give, how do you give? And being creative in how you give, right? And again, that's part of the reason why I'm sitting here right now, right? I don't see all that special about me. It's just the programming in my growing up. But is it necessary? Because I see it reflected in others' faces. I do, right? And politely I might pretend that I don't see it, but for the most part, right? I'm an empath. I'm highly sensitive, and if you're hanging out with me, maybe, right? You are highly sensitive too, a little hyper vigilant, maybe. Maybe not too much gets by you. What was that? Right? But those are the creative minds. Those are the curious minds. Those are the adventurous souls, right? And that's a good signal. That's a great bird call. That's a great Da Vinci Code, right? And we follow these things, and we learn. It's not like we're right. It's just takes all kinds to make the world, and unless we're spending a little bit of time getting to know each other, right? Getting to understand each other, getting to appreciate, getting a little bit past. We got to tolerance. That's amazing, right? But it's in that idea of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, right? That's the painful part, right? That's the painful part. And that's the part that we try to learn to ride those waves. And that's, you know, part of the process. And that is progress. That is progress. I mean, how many times did Edison, right, try to get that light bulb lit? How many experiments did he do, right, before he finally got it lit? When they were looking for the cure for diabetes, right? Or treatment at the very least, right? For diabetes. How many different formulas did they try? How many different experiments did they do until they hit it, right? Innovation is that progress, and failing is part of that progress, but it's process. And that's what we forget, is that progress is a process, right? Just like evolution is. It's a process, but it's also, right, if we choose properly, a progress. How about if we leave it right there? That was a good little cliffhanger, you guys. Dig into that one. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. We've got 2 more days. We're talking on the subject of progress this week. This weekend, I gave to myself and made progress in that. Right. Very pleased with how I'm going back to work, even though I didn't get absolutely everything accomplished. I got what I needed accomplished. I had progress. I had progress, and sometimes that progress doesn't look like what I was expecting it to look like. But nonetheless, it was progress. So, you know what? I'm good with that. You guys have a great day or a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.